Before I begin, please read the content warnings on screen. This video will discuss these topics which I'm aware many people are sensitive to. Please know your mental health is very important and you matter so much. I will have mental health resources available in the description for anyone who needs them. Please check those out. Hello. I know I said my last video would be about OC tropes I like, but then something happened and I want to talk about this while it's still relevant. You might also be wondering, Lex, this has nothing to do with art. Why the f are you talking about this? And to that, my response is, actually, the creation of figures is very artistic, as artists are very involved in the design and creation of figures. So technically, this is an art-related topic. If you don't know, Mouthwashing is an indie horror game that came out last year. In the game, there are 5 people on a spaceship delivering cargo, when the ship suddenly crashes, stranding everyone with no idea of when rescue will arrive. You play as Jimmy, the co-captain, and a very horrible person who does very horrible things. There are other characters such as the captain, Curly, the mechanic, Swansea, the intern, Daisuke, and the nurse, Anya. So the main thing Jimmy has done that's relevant to this topic is Anya before the main events of the game. This is a very important part of the game, as it's the catalyst for the majority of the events that take place in the game and results in Anya becoming pregnant, which eventually leads to her. This game is very dark and extremely well written. It has interesting characters, a thought-provoking story, and an extremely compelling narrative structure. If you're watching this video and somehow haven't played it, I highly recommend checking it out. It is truly a really good game, and it's relatively cheap, at least compared to most bigger games. They're like almost $100 now, Jesus Christ. Recently, the first Mouthwashing Nendoroid released, a figure of Anya with 3 faceplates, a few accessories, and a background paper to set her up against. We got an anxious faceplate, a smiling faceplate, and the source of all this controversy, a faceplate of Anya's dead body. Now before I get into why this is upsetting so many people, I need to give some background on the Mouthwashing fandom as a whole. In simple terms, the Mouthwashing fandom is a train wreck. I usually don't like to be too mean or harsh, but it's true. The fandom is an absolute mess, with countless controversies and the majority of it bubbling down to the fans simply having no idea how to handle the topic of assault. When the game initially came out, arguments quickly spread over pro-life fans of the game being upset about what Anya does to herself, some of them going as far as to write entire fan fictions or draw fan comics where Anya keeps the pregnancy she canonically did not want. There were also people arguing over whether Anya was even assaulted at all, other fans infantilizing Anya and watering her down to nothing but the assault she went through, and just generally having no idea how to handle her character. A lot of the fans act like Anya is supposed to be a representation of every single assault victim on Earth, as if she never had any sort of personality or goals of her own. As if she's just some moldable piece of clay that's supposed to fit every single person on Earth. Basically, the fandom sucks and has sucked for a long time. And me disliking a fandom says a lot when you think about the other fandoms I was in back in 2014 to 2018. Having nuanced discussions about this game is nearly impossible. However, I still want to try because I actually really love this game and I'm qualified to speak on these subjects due to my own personal life experience. So if you don't agree with me, good for you. I really don't care. You're free to click off at any moment. I just want to talk about this game and the people freaking out over the Nendoroid. It's really not that serious at the end of the day. I just find this whole situation really dumb and silly. Now that long intro is over, let's get into the actual video. After the pre-orders for the Anya Nendoroid launched, people took the internet by storm to argue over them including the faceplate of her corpse. This faceplate here. This is what everyone's mad about. For the first main argument I've seen, people have been upset over the figure and find it distasteful to make a figure of a character claiming that it's gross, insensitive to victims, and that there's something wrong with anyone who would even want a figure like that in the first place. Before even getting into this, I seriously need to make sure you understand something. That faceplate and pose is not of her In the game, a while after everyone but Curly has died, there's a scene where Jimmy is hallucinating his birthday and sets everyone's corpses up around the table, putting party hats on all of them before setting Curly up on the table itself. This is the scene being depicted here, which you can tell by the party hat she has on. I repeat, this was not depicting the moment she committed suicide, and this is something that should be rather obvious to anyone who's played the game, which I'm beginning to doubt most of the people complaining have actually done, but I'll get into that in a bit. I could leave this off with that, but there's another detail too. That's the detail that even if this was of her suicide, it would be far from the first figure depicting a character's suicide. The most popular example off the top of my head would be this figure on screen, which is of the character Misa Amane from Death Note. Specifically, this figure depicts when at the end of the show, she goes onto a rooftop and jumps off to and there are some other darker figures I'll show on screen here, but I don't want to be getting into the specifics of every single figure, that's just wasting time. Making figures of dark moments in media is not new whatsoever. You don't have to like them or spend money on them, but you can't go around pretending this is some shocking and horrific thing to do. You might say that just because it's happened before doesn't make it right, and to that, I highly suggest you consider that Mouthwashing is a horror game. And a horror game, having merge of dark moments within the game, is not a bad or shocking thing. You could also try saying that you didn't know about my other examples and that you find those other examples just as bad. Until you think about the fact that this isn't even the first time merch specifically for mouthwashing depicted something disturbing. No one was complaining about the merch of Curly, which shows his burnt and mutilated body as a cute plushie despite the borderline torture he goes through throughout the game. And no one was complaining about the birthday shirt, which also shows Anya's corpse. This is not even the first piece of merch about Anya's corpse specifically. This is not the first time that disturbing merch has been made for mouthwashing. If anything, I'd be more shocked if I went to go look for merch for a horror game, only to see lighthearted and cute happy merch. It's a horror game. Of course, a horror game is going to have dark and disturbing merch. That's just what you expect when you go into a horror game. If you can handle playing the whole game, you should be able to handle what's depicted on this figure. Especially when considering the fact that this faceplate is from a scene straight out of the game. It's not even like they made anything up that never actually happened in the game. This is exactly what happened in the game. This is part of the game. There's much worse that happens in the game itself too. The game is like a really beautifully well-written horror about culture and corrupt businesses, representing how they impact people from all perspectives. From men like Curly and Swansea who were aware of what happened yet did nothing about it, to perpetrators like Jimmy, to victims like Anya, and to the blissfully ignorant like Daisuke. And this is where I get into the part where I highly doubt these people have even played the game at all. Considering that I went as far as to scroll through the accounts that posted the more viral TikToks criticizing the Anya Nendoroid, and none of them have even posted any videos complaining about similar merch, such as the Curly plush, the Happy Birthday shirt, which, as I cannot stress enough, also depicts Anya's corpse, which is what these people are so upset about this figure for, or the I Want to Go Home shirt. With a lot of the accounts, I've also struggled to even find any other mentions of mouthwashing on their page. And sure, you don't have to post about something to prove you played it. I know I've played plenty of games I've never posted about. Well, when you're saying something so bizarre without having said this about any other similar merch made for the exact same game, while getting what the figure is even depicting wrong as well, it makes me question whether you're actually someone who's played the game, or you're just someone who remembers when everyone and their mom was talking about mouthwashing, and now you're criticizing the figure based on your limited knowledge from that. Not to be all f***ing posers, but when you think about their complete silence when it comes to other mouthwashing merch exactly like this, and the fact they got the scene that poses even representing wrong, it genuinely makes me question whether they're fans of the game at all saying this. This entire argument also seems to be more on the side of personal discomfort rather than a genuine criticism, which I want to clarify that it is okay to be uncomfortable with something. If you're personally sensitive to figures like that due to your own experiences, that's completely okay. What isn't okay is acting like nobody is allowed to enjoy it simply due to your own personal discomfort. You personally disliking something does not automatically mean it's immoral. You don't have to like it or watch anything related to it or buy it. It's okay to just scroll and get away from something you don't enjoy seeing. Way too many people online behave as if being personally upset by something means that that thing is inherently wrong. A topic I actually went over in my last video about people upset at gore artists for drawing properly labeled gore art. I've been considering making an entire separate video about this topic too, because it is very, very prevalent in a lot of recent situations and has become a serious issue within not just the art community, but the internet as a whole. If you are personally uncomfortable by something, that is completely okay. Not everyone has to like everything. Nobody is holding you hostage and forcing you to buy or even look at this figure. You are more than free to scroll and stop looking. If it is truly bothering you to the point of genuine distress, maybe it's time to put the phone down for a bit, take a walk for fresh air, and participate in another hobby until you're feeling better. Sometimes you just need to take a break and surround yourselves with things that make you happy instead. And you absolutely should do that if you need to. Sometimes we need to remind ourselves that this isn't the end of the world, that we're okay. The Anya Nendoroid can't hurt you. The next argument I've seen is that people find it distasteful because of Anya being a rape victim. That her status as a victim means making merch like this is offensive to victims. This goes back to an overarching issue within the Mouthwashing Fandom I mentioned earlier. The issue of fans watering Anya down to nothing but her assault. Despite a key part of her character being how she believes your worst moments don't define you. That you are more than what you've gone through. Yet so many people proceed to define her by her trauma, treating her like nothing more than a victim, as if that's all her character is. The best example of this is the previous argument I mentioned over pro-life fans making AUs where Anya keeps the baby. The main argument they'd make to defend this AU was by saying victims are allowed to keep the baby if they want, and that Anya not keeping the baby somehow demonizes victims who do. Yes, it's true that victims are allowed to handle their own trauma however the hell they want, but that's not why people were upset by this AU. People were upset because it's very obvious that Anya specifically did not want the baby. She was distressed when she figured out she was pregnant. She literally herself over this. She did not want that baby, and erasing her canonical feelings about something as serious as a baby just to put your own fantasies in is not giving assault victims more representation. It's actively taking down pre-existing representation. To clarify, I have no problems with AUs or fandoms doing normal fandom stuff. I am not some canon purist. I do not see canon as law, and I really don't give a about mischaracterization. I love fandoms and love looking at AUs and different people's creative ideas. Even in the Mouthwashing fandom, I have zero issues with stuff like the actor AU or other fun AUs. Content like that can actually be really refreshing after interacting with media so dark. There's only an issue when what you're doing heavily involves discussions about stuff as serious as what should be taken with much more thought and care when talked about. What you say about stuff as serious as even in fiction, does have real-world implications due to how many real people are harmed by it every single day. How many real people never get justice. It's a very, very sensitive topic that requires a lot of care to be handled properly. Back to the topic of Anya's though. While what Jimmy did to her is extremely important to the story, it's not the only part of her character. She has a personality, she has hopes and dreams, and we're even given background to what her life off the ship is like. The game does mostly take place through Jimmy's point of view, and since he doesn't see her as a person, we don't really see much of her true personality through his eyes. However, when we see more of her from Curly's point of view, we see other parts of her character. We see her enjoying herself with Daisuke while joking around. We see her stress over her financial situation back home. We see how intelligent she is, like when they find the stash of mouthwash and her first instinct is to check if it'd be any good as an emergency disinfectant. We see how she takes care of Curly after the crash. Before her death, his bandages are visibly clean and regularly changed, and she manages to keep him alive despite his horrific condition. Anya is smart, she has a sense of humor, and she genuinely cares about those around her. Even in Jimmy's point of view, we see how Anya copes with her trauma. We see her manage to mostly keep herself together for so much longer than most could, especially with the mixture of the horrifically traumatic event she's gone through, mixed with being stranded, having no idea when or even if help will come. So many fans act like she's nothing more than a victim, as if victims can't heal or do anything without it revolving around their assault. This isn't saying that what Jimmy did to her didn't matter or isn't a huge deal. This is saying victims as a whole are not defined by their trauma. At this point, this isn't even about mouthwashing anymore. This is just you self-reporting on how you view victims as a whole. The sort of mindset that victims can never be more than what they went through is genuinely so damaging. We're allowed to exist outside of our trauma. Victims are allowed to be happy. We're allowed to have lives, to date, to exist. Is extremely traumatic and difficult to cope with. It's already extremely violating without having other people going around spreading the rhetoric about having to define the victim's entire life. Claiming that merch of victims shouldn't exist merely because of them being a rape victim says way more about your views on rape victims than it ever will on the moral superiority you're trying to show off. You're just making yourself look like someone who doesn't see victims as people. Anyways, that's all for this video. I do hope you enjoyed it, and I'm excited for my next video. I really do want to be covering more positive topics, so I'm genuinely excited to finish up the OC Tropes I Love video and get it out. I just wanted to get this out real quick because I do really like mouthwashing. The fandom is just a hot mess, constantly getting mad over every little thing. If you don't like the figure, don't get it. If you do like the figure, get it. Either way, try to focus on interacting with what you actually enjoy rather than what you personally dislike. Have a good day or night, and check out the mental health resources in the description if you need them. Thanks for sticking around to the end of the video, and tell me what you think about the figure in the comments. I'm always open for peaceful discussions, though I will not interact with anyone who seems to be working in bad faith or becomes too aggressive over this. At the end of the day, this is just a figure from a video game. It's not that serious.